everybody, and welcome to Bugbear's Basement. I am Chester C. Busby III, and I am happy to have you here as always. I see we got a couple people in here already, and welcome and thank you for being here. Do keep in mind that we got a bunch of links down below we'd love for you guys to check out, particularly to our fan speak on Facebook, which is growing and doing really wonderful. But today, of course, on Bugbear's Basement, we are going to be doing Vampire the Masquerade. This is our second tabletop role playing game we're going to be playing. And I can't tell you how much it frustrates me that I keep having to put the word tabletop in front of that. Because I remember a time when role playing was role playing, but then video games stole it. The bastards. But nevertheless, we are very happy to have you here today because we're going to have some fun. We're starting a brand new chronicle today. And I named it very generically Boston by Night. If any of you ever played Vampire, you know that's extremely generic. But the story titles and stuff will be more interesting, which, of course, I can't name it until we get into it and find out what it is. But Bianca's in here and says, Aloha. Well, hello. I see Candy as well. And I see Sharati. Sharati Storytime. Interesting name you got there. But first thing I want to do is come over and say hello to our players today before we jump in. But let's start over here with Comic Book Bob. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
I'm doing awesome, man. I'm sitting here with a nice hot cup of coffee. My dog is sprawled out, looking like it's dead on the floor, but it's not. It's just resting. And I'm enjoying a day with a bunch of friends, so I couldn't be much better, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get into this.
Awesome. So am I, dude. And of course, we also have Dinale with us. Of course, this is his choice. He really wanted to do Vampire, and it's cool because Vampire is a real fun game. How you doing, Dinale?
I'm doing awesome. I'm here existing in the Florida weather. Totally humid, unbreathable, but I'm inside the cool air of air conditioning, so
Yeah.
I'm ready to play and rock and roll and see
Yes,
if
that's
our character will survive
that's
this
right.
first night.
Air conditioning, one of God's greatest creations. I agree. We're also joined by Dodge. Hey, doing Dodge?
Pretty good, man. Glad to be here. Thanks.
Awesome, awesome. And of course, last but certainly not least is Mox. Did you get done what you had to get done, Mox?
Yes, sir. I finished up.
Oh, sweet. That is awesome. So how you doing today, man?
Oh, pretty good. Trying to survive this southern weather of about 100 degrees.
Well, you know, that's welcome to the South. But we're not going to be in the South today. We're going to be in Boston, dude. And Boston has nice, pleasant summer days, actually. It's one of the best places to be in the summer. And it's actually an interesting choice taking Boston. And before I jump in and give the spiel and we start to chronicle, I did choose Boston. Do any of you guys know anything about Boston at all?
No.
They got a decent baseball team.
They do. They now, yeah. Well, they've had their up and downs. All right. So, what I'm going to do for you guys and all the people watching, I'm going to give you kind of a quick rundown on Boston, so you can get a feel for it. Particularly, this is more for the players, really, because they have to play inside the city. Boston is a very interesting place. It's one of the most expensive cities in the world. A lot of people complain about other places they've never been to Boston because it's ridiculously expensive. Now, Boston is not only is it one of the most expensive places to be, but it's also probably. Oof, I've been to a lot of cities in my life. I mean, actual cities, right? I'm not talking about the big giant town or the glorified city, but actual cities. And Boston might well be the most beautiful one I've ever seen. It is an absolutely gorgeous place. That is true. But because of that, and because of all the history, because I mean, if you want to talk about the history of America, you're talking about the history of Boston. And before I go any farther, I just noticed something. Mad, you are. I see you. That's your web page. You're not showing the Hangouts, are you? No, that's not the Hangouts. Just be careful though, dude. Make sure that you're not showing those Hangouts on the stream here, because people could jump it. That's for Dodge, right? But anyway,
Oh, I have it open on a different tab.
that's
Sorry.
fine. Just be careful about that. Just be careful about that. But anyway, back to Boston. So because Boston is so beautiful and it has so much historical importance to America, we get you get a ton of tourism in Boston. It's a very they make a lot of money off of it. And of course, it comes with all that touristy stuff. So it is very much a beautiful touristy town, and at the same time, it's a lot of history. There's a lot of pride. The Another thing to keep in mind is I don't know if it's the biggest one, but that there's more than 50 universities and colleges in Boston. I mean Boston proper too. I don't know if it's the biggest college town in America, but it's certainly going to be in the top five, I would imagine. But It's just ridiculous, and there's so many different types of colleges there too. And of course, you got the Harvard, you got the MIT, Boston College, you got Brown Satellite, you got Berkeley, et cetera, et cetera. But because of that, there's a lot of collegey kids. So the environment of Boston really is very interesting. You have the tourists that are running around all the time, except for in deep winter, and of course it's you're just basically buried in snow. But You got the tourists running around, you got the college kids, which have their own level of annoyance, and then you have the locals that just are annoyed by everything all the time. That is Boston, right? Got great oysters, lobster rolls, of course. They love their Red Sox. They love Larry Bird, even though he hasn't played in forever, and of course Tom Brady and Belichick. I mean, they're everything there. Now, as far as where we are, we're in Roxbury, which is down to the south, and Dorchester and stuff like that, a little bit south of the main part of the city. And it's a pretty dangerous place. I mean, it's a 99 out of 100 as far as danger level. That's the official statistic. So it has its ugly side too, Boston. But even that, it's really kind of pretty, and you'll see when we show the our layer. Even that is a beautiful little house, but it is in a very dangerous place. But This is kind of a general understanding of Boston. So, do you guys have any questions about Boston before we jump into this, though?
No.
Anybody?
Nope. I'm sure I'll have some later, but I don't have any
Right.
right now.
All right. Rock on. So, as you guys may know, if you watched our Marvel superhero role playing game, which we did for God's Blood campaign, which that was a lot of fun. We do kind of a storyboard here. Is how we run our D&D, or excuse me, our role playing sessions. I think it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more visual for you guys that are watching. So I'm going to go jump over there, and I'm going to start doing that, and just kind of give you a layout of what our situation is. If you guys have any questions while I'm doing that, save them until I'm done, and then I'll come back to you. All right? So here we go.
Cool.
And let me share with you guys so that you can see as well. All righty. Here we go. All right. Boston by night. Now, Boston, in the world of darkness, is just like any place else. The world of darkness is just like ours, except for the difference is that all those legends and stories and boogeymen and all that kind of stuff exists in the dark. It is in the shadow, and you have it has that tinge, that twist, almost that comic book noir horror that is laid over the entire world. Everyone is aware of it, but and then at the same time they're not aware of it. The very convenient thing about it is, of course, it is our world, and we are playing in modern time here. I'm not set this in a period piece, but of course, Boston. As I just laid out, is a very active and burgeoning place that lives on its history and its tourism. Now, our players are going to tell you all about themselves in a moment, and they have been in Boston for various times. Some of them are born and raised here. Some of them are recent additions, but we'll get to their background introductions in a moment. But Boston is controlled by the Magi, which is very different. In the world of darkness, most cities anywhere in the world are controlled by a vampire prince, and that vampire prince has in the cities will have incredible authority throughout it, not necessarily complete authority, but a lot of authority. And all the other creatures of the world, like werewolves, which mainly are in the countryside anyway, but there are some city ones, the mage, changelings, wraith, all that kind of stuff, that are part of the world of darkness, with white wolf, they all are kind of falling under the princes, really, in the big cities. Boston is different, however. Boston stands out because from its inception in 1630, Boston was founded by Magi from the beginning. and there have been many contested moments in history where vampires or even other supernatural beings have tried to wrest that control away from the Boston Chantry. They have always failed. Boston has always been held by the Magi. Always. Now, they understand that they have to live with the other creatures of the supernatural world, so they accommodate that. Now, the way they do that is they set up an area in Boston, and our players are allowed to live and hunt and interact in this area freely. Now they can go to other parts of the city too, but if they get out of line in any way, the mages are the magi are going to put them in their place hard. Right, but in this place, Roxbury is where we put Roxbury, Dorchester area. They are free to do as their nature implies. Right, and in order to facilitate that, they set up for Haven. Now, there's not many vampire in Boston. It's a very low population, actually. There are rumors of Sabbats and Nosferatu running around in the sewers and under areas of Boston, but this is all rumor. But the main house or main haven for a vampire in the Roxbury area is this one right here, the one I'm showing you. And of course, I put down here the lair. And of course, this is their lair. This is where our team actually lives. And to take a quick look at our team, here are our players, and we'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. But other than our players, we also have two other people in this house. We have Benny and we have Delilah. Now, Delilah's only been here about a month. She's a new addition, but Benny's been here even longer than Dinale's character, which I'll let him introduce that. But Benny's been here a long time, and he's kind of the unspoken mage. The diplomatic connection between the vampires and the magi, and he kind of controls the area in a way, in his kind of offbeat way. But other than the lair where these guys are safe, there's three others. But everybody always all the vampires in the area, they always tend to hang out here because underneath in the basement of this, actually taking up this entire lot you see here, Benny actually has a tavern of sorts, and this is his tavern. And they all come and hang out here quite regularly. I mean, to be fair, the vampires of Boston are kind of a sad lot, really. But they do come in here and hang out and stuff like that. And there are a couple of notable vampires that do hang in here, and the rest of them are kind of riffraff. But there are two notable ones, and I think my players should be paying attention to this. Rhagar hangs in here almost every night. It's very rare to not see Rhagar come in, actually. Now, he's a Nosferatu. He doesn't mention anything about any other Nosferatu in the city, but Rhagar obviously is a mysterious figure, and he's incredibly knowledgeable. And oddly, even though he looks horrific, he's quite friendly. And then, of course, we have Tati. Now, Tati is obviously not from America. She sounds like she's from the Ukraine or Russia or something like that. But Tati is, although she's not too crazy overt about it, Tati seems to be an anarch representative. So these two vampires, other than the other 20 some that are running around, are the only ones of real note as far as the ones that hang around you, our players, on a day-to-day basis. And then it brings me to the last characters that I need to introduce. The mage that they see most often, which is rare, but they do see her occasionally, is Lara. Now, Lara. She's not particularly friendly to vampire, but she's kind of indifferent. She's apathetic in a way. But when something needs to be conveyed between the chantry and the vampires, she's usually the one that comes. Although normally she's talking to Benny, if anybody. But you've seen her around, you know who she is. Now, you don't know them and you never met them, but the other two main players, which is going to kind of set off our story, is the prince and the mage. Now, this mage you see sitting here, this is the magus of Boston, and he's in charge of the Boston Chantry. His name is Clifford Payne. Of course, Laura, her name is Laura Payne, his daughter, which I just showed you. And the vampire that you see here, he is a prince. Which is interesting because he doesn't seem to have a city, but they do call him the prince, and his name is Quentin. You don't know anything else about him. That's it. You know what he looks like. You know he's been here for the past 2 weeks, and what's been going on for the past 2 weeks is really upset the kind of lethargic and happy lifestyle that's going on in Boston for all the supernatural, because the prince has come in hot and heavy, and seems to be wanting to take over the city, and they've been at war with the Magi. And one of the big things he did just less than a week ago was he dropped off a box of mage heads at the front door of the Chantry in Back Bay. And everyone was like kind of buckling down and holding on to see what's going to go on, because this could get ugly. This is very serious. There's a vampire prince coming hardcore at this city, and the Magi here are some of the most powerful in the world. Matter of fact, this might well be the second or third most powerful chantry in the planet, aside from maybe Constantinople or something like that. So this is serious business, and it has upset the nice pattern of life that has gone on. So this is our world. This is where we are. So what I want to do, as we move on here and start to get into our story, is first of all ask our players if they have any questions, and if not, then I'm going to move on to them giving their backgrounds and introducing themselves. So you guys have any questions so far? What's going on?
No.
Not yet.
All right, good.
I had a
Uh,
couple of questions.
Go ahead.
For the mage, you said what was his name again? I didn't catch it.
His name is he's the magus of this chantry in Boston. His name is Clifford Payne.
Clifford Payne.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's Payne. P-A-I-N-E.
No, Payne, of course. The Payne families
Okay.
are very famous in New England.
Understood.
Any other? And your second question?
For Ragnar, it's obvious he's a Nosferatu.
Rhaegar, yeah, he's a Nosferatu. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm just kind of showing the main characters. That's all. It's just kind of like the opening credits, and you see the person with their names underneath. Just kind of imagine it like that. These are our main players. So
Right. Okay.
so far, anyway. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question.
Mhm.
The box of mage heads was delivered a week ago. Do we know
Less
if the
than a
prince
week
did
ago.
it himself or sent somebody?
You don't know that. You're getting a lot of rumor, backhand. Actually, oddly enough, Benny has been quite chatty the past week, because Benny's usually kind of this somber, quiet thing that's off in the corner. He doesn't interact or say much things at all, but he's been quite chatty this past week, and he's because he is Dinale. As he introduces his character, you'll see Dinale has a bit of connection with the mage as well, but Benny is their liaison, really. So he's been giving a lot of that information, but you don't know what's going on, really. You don't. There's a prince that's the past 2 weeks has been coming in real hot and heavy. It's particularly the past 5 days, and you guys should be worried because if the Magi really start going hard at it, you do know that how their several of you know, and you've been involved in the conversations, that. Yeah, if Paradox starts hitting the city, who knows what? I mean, there could be a random Paradox blow up your lair for all you know. I mean, it's serious business, right? Okay.
Right. Okay.
All right, cool. Now let's go over here and let's introduce ourselves to our characters before we start deciding how they want to malign the world that I've created. So let's start with Zero Plague here. Zero Plague, introduce yourself to the peoples and let them know what your character's all about, dude.
Okay. So Plague is pretty much he's lived in Boston most of his life. He was embraced here. And let me pull up my description over here. Sorry about that. He's got red hair. He's a slight build. Pretty much looks kind of like this character here. Just the differences of the red hair. A good way to describe him would be the character that Norman Reedus played in Blade 2.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
And
Scuds.
yes, because average height, average build, has a little bit of a kind of a nervous tick kind of feel about him.
Mm-hmm.
When he's sitting around, his fingers always moving, almost like he's typing a keyboard in midair. He learned at a very early age. He learned, he wasn't athletic, but he was that guy who just figured out pretty early on that knowledge was power, and that knowledge was more powerful than muscle. If you have knowledge, you can get the muscle to work for you. And that's pretty much what he did. He used his intelligence to hack into the school's computers. He would get grades for people. He would change grades for them. He was the guy that, even though everybody, they may not really talk to him very much, and he's pretty much an introvert, they always came to him for stuff, and he never had to worry about being bullied. And as time went on, he started making those connections, like you typically see. He everything from office workers to drug dealers. He's creating an information network, and being that kind of a shut-in type, anarchy came pretty natural, because with no rules, you have no limits. He used that to eventually cultivate and become part of a hacktivist group, but their political activities and whatnot, they really didn't matter to him. They were just pretty much a means to an end. So he never really formed. He actually has a little bit of an issue dealing with people socially beyond the typical niceties. He doesn't really get people very much. It's all about code. And as the time has gone on, even after he was embraced, he realized, that's where his power is. He's not the strong guy. He doesn't know magic, but he knows how to find knowledge. He knows how to find that information that everybody desperately needs.
Sure. Okay.
And he wasn't very much of a, he doesn't even know how he became a vampire. He was literally cutting through a back alley and was attacked, and the next thing he knew, he woke up and he was what he was.
So you are one of the victims of the Caitiff Maker.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how long have you been in Boston, in this city?
He has been in Boston he was born in 1965. He was embraced in 1989. So he's been in Boston that entire time. I think he's the second longest person that's been here in the group.
Yes, he is. He is. So you've been here over 30 years. Awesome. Now, there's one little bit of information you need to write down for me. www.pallor.kin. www.pallor.kin. Now, this is the vampire network worldwide on the internet, and it is rumored, and you probably know it's more fact than the average person because of your hacking abilities, that it is run by the Nosferatu themselves.
Okay.
But that just keep that in mind, because that is something that might be useful to you. Okay.
Awesome.
Dinale, I'm going to come to you on the next panel, but do me a favor, please, Dinale. I'm over here running the presentation and stuff, so I can't see the chat. So please keep an eye on that for me, okay? Dinale.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Just keep an eye on that for me, dude, because I can't see it at all where I am on this. But anyway, thank you very much, Plague. Awesome, cool hacker character, right? And you go see as we go through the characters here, guys, that this party is well balanced, which is good, because I have, depending on what they do, I have epicness in store. So a balanced party is useful. Let's move over next to Mox, and Mox is going to introduce his character, Sienna Barato.
Yes, thank you. Sienna was born in Chicago into the violent inner city. So at 18, she joined the military to escape and try to build a future for herself. She ended up being sent to Aleppo, Syria, which turned into a war zone. And late one night, while she was on patrol, she was embraced by her maker. She came to with some strange creature that had changed her into something else. She was left there by him, and she went on the run after she heard the words that he would find her when she was ready. She arrived in Boston only recently, and she's looking to start a new life as a vampire there, and is seeking to find her place in the vampire world by growing her power and her strength by any means that she can find. She's about 5'8", 145 pounds, black hair, black eyes, and she was born in 1980 and was turned in 2000 on June 3rd. She appears to be about 20 years old.
All right. And but you've been in Boston how long though?
About a year now.
Yeah. So you're one of the shorter term characters we have in Boston, and that's all well and good. And just to add a little point, which Denali will probably pick up on, uh, there's something very different about Sienna. And
Yes.
yeah, and Sienna knows it. She's aware that she's not normal because Sienna here is caitiff, as they all are, which caitiffs means simply clanless in this case. But Sienna is actually a 14th generation vampire, which is extremely thin blood. And of course, this brings some benefits. Now, Sienna can walk around the day for a couple hours. She can handle sunlight, where the rest of these guys cannot, right? She can also eat food if she chooses. Now, normally a thin blood would be hardly anything more, hardly superior to a human at all. But Sienna is as strong as any of these other guys. So something weird about Sienna. Just keep in mind, okay? But thank you very much, Mox. And I do apologize, everybody. I do realize it's a sexy little cute female girl here, and he sounds like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. Enjoy your nightmares. So, moving on. Let's go over here to this side, and we will start with Dinale's character. Go ahead, dude. Once again.
Yep. Yes. So my character is Al Morgan. He's from Boston, been there all his life. He's the oldest vampire next to Benny. He's been embraced for 50 years. Before that time, he used to be a college student at Boston University trying to get his degree as a biochemist before his embrace. So he's basically just an average looking guy, average appearance, kind of like a wallflower, kind of blends in the background. He's very intelligent. He's very analytical. He has a drive to figure out what's going on, what needs to be done in the world. And that's why he was doing biochemistry, because that had puzzles and things that intrigued him. When he was embraced, it was through, I guess, one of those parties that was happening in the 60s, because it was towards the end of the 60s and the whole love, peace kind of deal. And he woke up in this crazy location somewhere in Boston that had blood, that had, something from the Nine's Hells. It seems like when he woke up, I guess there was some kind of battle, some kind of fight that occurs. He doesn't really know what happened, but was able to escape. While he was escaping, was able to find some knowledge, some books in weird languages and weird things that he took with him out of instincts and curiosity, and he's been surviving since then. Part of that was meeting up with Benny and the mages, because he's just dealing with science and experiments and not dealing with magic and being vampire-ish. He was able to forge a connection, some context with a covens of witches that they kind of sort of trust him. There's an uneasy respect between them. And he's been building up his occult knowledge since then, traveling down as far as Louisiana to north of Chicago, in search of learning things, and coming back to Boston because Boston is his own place. He's seen, other vampires try to take control or march into, and seen the mages kind of wipe them out.
Yep.
So
the last big one was
yeah.
in the 60s.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's aware of what the mages can do.
He is well aware. Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add about the character? All right. All right. Rock on.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, keep in mind, just before I come to Bob's character here, Damien, just to kind of give the layout of our layer here. Now, in the layer upstairs, we have three rooms. Are up here, three, kind of bedrooms. Two of them are fairly sizable. The other one's a little bit smaller. But Plague's bedroom is upstairs, which is sure is a computer haven. And Sienna is in the smaller room. She's new. She's only been here a short time. And of course, Damien is also in the third room upstairs. Delilah is actually on the ground floor. And she has what used to be a study turned into her room, and she's been here only a month, right? Because all the rooms are taken, but you guys just took the study, which really wasn't being used anyway, and got kind of converted over for her. It's a small little room, but for her to live in. Now, Benny himself, there's a little side storage area and a room down this part of his little Benny's place, and that's where he stays. And actually, Dinelle's character, Al, there's a second sub basement, which has many storage rooms and stuff, but he also has his room and a laboratory down there. And it also has entrance down there to the underway. Now, the underway, you guys have heard rumored, travels underneath all of Boston, but it's not something you ventured into because it is, Benny told you all very clearly, you go in there, you die. So none of you have actually ventured in the underway yet. There is an entrance to it though, and it's well locked. But that's where Al is now. Of course, Damien here. Like I said, he's up in the second room his room's on the second floor, and he has himself laid out. So, give us a vision of your character there, Bob, and let us know who is Damien Gibbs.
Actually, it's my character, Dodge, not Bob.
Oh,
but,
Dodge. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But
I'll
yeah,
get it straight,
Damien
dude.
Gibbs is from New Orleans. He was turned in '89, but he was already selling drugs by that time because of the '80s party scene. He was mostly selling coke and weed, stuff like that. And one night at the club, he was getting ready to leave and stumbled upon a man in the alley who ended up embracing him. And his name was Jake Patterson, and he was a toreador. I'm not sure how he just cast me off, right? That's how I became a caitiff. But I spent the rest of my time until about 6 months ago refining a formula of vampire blood, which I have been selling as a drug, but it doesn't make people into ghouls. So that's very useful. And I ended up helping out Clan Bruja a little bit in New Orleans, which is what made a few enemies. And I was ran out of town about 6 months ago. And I've had connections with Al in the past, so he told me to come up to Boston. So here I am.
Right. Now, had we made a decision that was it Al that helped you finally perfect the drug to where you no longer have any ghoul issues, or not? Did you come to? I know you guys were talking about that. Did you come to a decision on that?
We did talk about it a little bit. I think my character came up with it on his own, I believe,
Okay,
is what
that's fine.
me.
That's fine. All right, cool. So Damien has been up in Boston how long now?
Yeah.
6 months, right?
Just 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. Okay. So all this is new, and to be fair, you coming out of New Orleans, which is a vampire-controlled city, and there's a lot of trouble with Sabbat down in New Orleans. So that's a lot of action down there, and there's a lot of other supernatural creatures too. Whereas say New York is under the iron fist control of a Ventrue prince. New Orleans, in particular Louisiana, but the city of New Orleans is the prince barely has what could be called the authority. There's so much supernatural power and influence going on in that city that its power will shift from one day to the next, almost. So it's a very different dynamic up where you are. This is a very placid city. It's very calm. There's very rare to see see any of the creatures of darkness, because in the world of darkness, guys, we have the standard things like the vampires, the mage, the changelings, but it depends on what kind of campaign you're playing, whether you see them at all. And of course, wraith are on the other side of the veil. They're in the Umbra. But in the world of darkness is also any other kind of weird, creepy, crawly, supernatural thing you could think of. And depending where you are in the world, they will have more influence or another. But here in this city, there you hardly see them at all. It's kind of boring, really, because the mage hold this thing tight with an iron fist. And like I said, this is one of the most powerful chantries on the planet. Right, so this is a very different experience for you, Damien. The past 6 months, it's a very placid city, is from your point of view, particularly because you're coming out of New Orleans. All right. Anyway, that's our situation. Now I'm going to start. I'm going to start our story. So before I do that, last chance for any out of character questions.
I forgot to send you a list of like items that I have. Do you want that?
Oh no, I'm fine. As long as it's not anything exuberant or doesn't make sense to your character, I'm good with that. This isn't like D&D for the viewers who are watching. And of course, the players know this, but D&D, it depends on how many gold pieces you are, depending on the DM, how much weight you're carrying, etc., etc. This is much more open-ended, right? If it makes sense for your character to have it, you have it. It's a modern day. It's not strange that you would our character here, Plague, would have a bunch of computers. He's been sitting in Boston for 30 years. Of course, he has a setup, right? It's a different type of game, right? And these things don't matter. Now, if all of a sudden you say, "Oh, by the way, storyteller, I have a laser gun that does 3d10 damage," well, of course, it doesn't work like that. But then we're going to have a problem. But in general, it's not. It's a different kind of game. So
Unless,
you
unless you're a matter mage, then they can do
well,
that.
but you are not matter mages, so that's all good. So don't worry about that. We're having fun. We're role playing. We want the game to have texture and feel and depth to it. So don't concern yourself much with that. Although you should have it written down in your character sheet, of course. But
Yeah, I got it.
all right. Anybody else? All right. Here we go. Strap in. Literally. Anyway, you guys are sitting down here in Benny's place. It is a Wednesday evening, and like I said, 5 days ago, the vampires left a damn box of heads at the chantry door, and there's been a lot of activity the past few days. You've seen, lights popping in the night air. You've been hearing all kind of rumors, but until this point, you guys really hadn't stuck your nose out to investigate yourselves what is going on. Although you can tell by the tension that things are heating up really, really bad. And you don't really know what's going on. The assumption is, seeing as we have several older vampires here, is that the prince is doing as they've done before in Boston and trying to push in and take over the city. And it's assumed he's a Ventru because they're usually the ones that will do that. But it is a bit odd because several of you guys here have occult dots in occult. How many of you have occult ability or knowledge? Sorry.
My character does.
Yep, that's one.
Al does.
Al, who else has? I know at least one else of you do.
I do.
I have
I
one
do.
dot.
Because
One
everybody
dot.
has a dot at least. Okay, good. It makes sense that you would. All right, so you guys all know that uh, it's kind of odd how hot and heavy this prince is going at it. Things are usually a little bit more, obfuscated. You know what I mean? Because it's the masquerade, right? And he's a Ventru prince, and this is awful out in the open. And so far, of course, the media, the TV, they're talking every night about gang war in the city. But of course, they're not talking about vampires or werewolves or anything like that. And of course, you haven't heard any rumors of to the west of you and the west side of the city, there are werewolves. The Bone Nor tribe, and you guys know right well to not go over there, but they don't cross the river either. They don't come over to your side. So, but you know they're there, but there's nothing, there's no news about them particularly. But this is a weird situation, and it seems odd to you, even if you're not necessarily the most up to date on Camarilla history and function. Now, the Camarilla, for those of you who don't know, are the ones who created the Masquerade in 1485, I think. Something like that. I can't remember offhand, but it was 15th century sometime, because they just come out of the Inquisitions, and so many vampires had been killed during that time, and the Masquerade was created to keep them hidden and safe. And the Camarilla, which is an ancient organization out of Rome, are the ones who had put it in place and have been very strict about enforcing it, actually. So if you're not affiliated with the Camarilla, that's fine, but don't step out of line because they will come and squash you, right? That's kind of the situation. So this prince is acting in a very odd way. This you know. Right now, you're sitting in Benny's place here, and I couldn't find one that was full of vampires, so I just went with this one. I thought it looked like a basement bar, so I went with this picture. But it is full, and it's more full than normal. Matter of fact, probably every vampire in the city is in this room. Everybody's worried, right, about what's going to happen, what's going on. Now, of course, other than you guys who are down here, whether you hang out here normally or not doesn't matter. You're in here today. You're in here at this time. And of course, you guys are always keeping an eye on Ragar and Tati, because these are notable figures. And Tati is actually been very quiet the past few days. She hasn't had much to say other than her normal chit chat and stuff like that. And of course, you guys are quite sensible. You don't there aren't like ripping humans apart and eating their flesh type of things. There's a couple blood dolls around, but you guys are more refined in how you interact with that, and that's the influence of the mages, of course. Ragar is in here now. Ragar has been very chatty. He's always chatty. He's actually a very friendly guy, even though he doesn't look it. And he's been giving out a lot of information. But interestingly, tonight, though, Lara is here. And she has been sitting and talking to Tati all night. So you guys are down here. You know the situation in the city between the prince and the mage. You understand what's going on very vaguely. And of course, Benny and Delilah are here as well. So what do you guys want to do? That is your layout. The other things that are going on in the city, you guys have been paying attention to. Of course, the catif maker has always been a big mystery, whether it's on your mind or not. Of course, a couple of you are made by the catif maker, so this is an ongoing mystery. And of course, it drives the magi insane because they want to find this person who keeps dropping vampires in their city. But it's not necessarily the hot topic right now. But the other thing that I know you guys have been talking about is the fact that someone has made some kind of designer supernatural drug that is awakening people who have the potential to be magi. Now, at first blush, you would think that the mages would like this. Sure, we want more magi, but they're not happy about it. You don't know necessarily why they're not happy about it, but they're not. Dinale knows this, at least, that they're not pleased about it. And they're trying very much to find out who is doing it. And you guys have been discussing that, particularly before this whole thing blew up with this prince in the city doing the things he's doing. So I have given you every layout, the layout of the city, the layout of the situations. If you guys have any questions for me, ask. But for right now, I'm going to shut up, and you guys are going to tell me what you're doing.
Well, sorry, real quick. Tati, I can't remember which one. Was it Tati or was it Tiberius who was the anarch?
Yeah, I changed Tiberius to Tati.
Okay,
I
all right.
wanted, because I think it's nice to have a little bit of a little balance of females in there, and I felt I
No
had way
problem.
too many males, so I wanted to throw another female in there. So I changed
Okay, so
Tiberius to Tati. This is the gangrel anarch representative. Sorry.
okay, so but she is the one who's been like trying to talk up the anarchs,
She is. She always is. Yeah. Although she's been very
and
quiet the past week.
she's right now she's talking to Laura.
Lara. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to. I'm actually not even coming out of my room. What happens
No.
is
You are all down here. Oh, you have. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. What it is I have a drone that literally flies down. It's got a cell phone connected to the top of it, with a picture of me, and it just lands on the table and it's just sitting there.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine.
All right.
I'll have to find a picture of that, or have one of our artists make it.
Mm.
That's actually a cool idea. All right, so that's what Plague is doing. His drone is on the table as usual because he's a weirdo. What about you, Sienna? What is your character doing?
I'm gonna look around the room for Mad Dodge's character and ask him if he wants to patrol the area outside the house.
Okay,
Yeah, let's go.
all right. So maybe I should switch these pictures around. Actually, I should have done that. Should have thought about that and done that from the beginning. I'll take care of it next time. All right. So you and so we have Damien and Sienna are going to go do a patrol, walking on the outside. I'll get to that in a moment. And Al, what are you doing?
I'm listening to Renard talk, trying to figure out what he's saying in these nights.
Sure. He's
And
sitting in a booth, and there's a lot of vampire that are there. A lot of the crowd is actually around Ragnar as he's speaking. Yeah, so you're part of that crowd. Yeah.
mhm.
Okay.
So, yep.
Okay.
I'm just listening to Renard say what he's talking about, see if there's any pertinent information that hasn't been already
Okay.
been revealed yet.
Well, we'll start there then. Rhaegar is sitting there, and he's like I said, his personality does not match his visage at all. He's a very chatty guy. He's a very friendly, nice guy, and he's saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe it! Last night, I found out that one of the some of the prince's men were running around and just grabbing people off the street and just right in the middle of nowhere. Everyone could see it. Yeah, I mean, it was an unbelievable thing. And I heard something else too. Someone said they saw one of his guards had a Justicar badge on. I couldn't believe it. Could you believe? Could you think that possibly the Justicar are in the city? And if they are they working with the prince? Oh my goodness! People are, oh yeah, 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 going on like that. This is what he's talking about. He's just he's amazed at how bold the prince is, and of course that Justicar thing is a big deal, particularly for you, Dinale, because your occult lore is very deep compared to the other guys. You know exactly what a Justicar is.
Yeah. Real quick, as they're sitting there, this camera is literally panning back and forth, and it's recording everything.
I imagined, yeah. Yeah, that's
Okay.
cool. And I think probably what's happening, you're kind of floating probably above Al's shoulder right now, I would assume. Or maybe you're just sitting on the table next to Rhaegar. But he's going on like this, and he continues, and people start a lot of speculation is starting right now and going on about what they think is involved. Now,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
guys think,
I'm sorry. Every once in a while, it will lift up and it'll move to a different place.
okay, cool. All right. Do you want to interject at all, Al, or what?
No, I'm just listening at the present moment. There's really nothing that I want to add unless he says something else even more outrageous.
All right. Now, outside, we have Sienna and we have Damien, and you guys are just kind of walking up and down the street. You're patrolling per se, but I think you're also probably having a chat about what's going on. You see drug dealers sitting on stoops, and you see other things. But you guys been in here long enough, particularly Sienna, that they know not to mess with you. Whether they know exactly what you are or not is another question. But they know you are not to be trifled with. So no one's actually giving you a hard time. They're just going about their businesses, which is normal around here. Roxbury is a very dangerous place. There's a huge drug problem here, a major drug problem. And of course, Damien, you are a drug dealer yourself. And as you're walking along, now I need to know who you sell your drugs to, though. Are you specific? Do you have a very tight clientele, or will you sell to anybody?
Pretty small clientele. I happen to I have like 2 or 3 people that I'll sell to, and they distribute it. So I don't have my face on it,
Okay.
all over town.
All right, good. But
You have a question. As
Yeah.
we were headed out of Benning's, did we notice anybody watching us leave?
Not well. You can let's make a dice roll. That's the first time for it. So what we're going to do is you're going to make a perception type of roll, right? So what we're going to do is you're going to take your perception and you're going to take your. Let me see here. Hold on a second. I don't think you guys would have any of that specific side stuff. Yeah, just make a straight perception roll real quick. Now, what you do with this is you take how many dots you have perception, and each of those dots represents a dice, and you roll it. Now, if you want, you could add streetwise to that if you'd like. So if you have streetwise, like a dot or two, that would add a dice or two to your roll.
Okay. Well, I just rolled perception and I got a 3 and a 2.
Okay. You don't see anything particular. It doesn't seem anybody's focused on you at all. Okay. So you guys are walking along and chatting and just kind of getting the lay of the land, and things are very normal as far as Roxbury goes. And you're getting down to the edge of Dorchester. You've gone a couple blocks to the south east, and you're getting on the border of Dorchester. And Dorchester is not much different than Roxbury as far as the trouble, although Roxbury is kind of the center of trouble in Boston. But you guys know the prince is down here somewhere. You don't know exactly where, but seems to be his battle headquarters is set up here somewhere. And as you guys are walking along down the street, off in the distance, you see what seems to be fireworks popping off in the sky, but the fireworks seem to be blowing the side of a building off.
Hmm. I say we investigate.
All right. Let's move in slowly, though, not too quickly.
All right.
The building that's being blasted with the fireworks, is it on an upper level or a bottom level? Is there buildings high rise around
This
it?
is it is a four-story brownstone, and the a good chunk of the four-story has just been blown off by these fireworks, which it seems in your mind to make sense, but then at the same time it doesn't make sense. Why would a firework cause such damage? But it has. Now, are you going to run toward the situation, or are you going to kind of just mosey in?
I think that we should try to hide and slip around to the location of the source of the fireworks instead
Okay.
of run at the building and do it cautiously.
Is there a side street that we could go around as a
There's always
detour
side
around the
streets and
block?
stuff around here, but you could stick to yards and stuff because you are coming out of Roxbury, which is mainly a suburb, and there's a lot of yards and that sidewalks and little alleys and things like that. So you could weave your way in there in a very hidden way if you want. So what you guys can do is just simply give me a hidden roll, which of course is going to be working off of obfuscation if you have it. If you want to use a discipline, or you simply could just if you don't want it to be particular, then you can we can just kind of go with your kind of hidden. But if you want to use a discipline, you may. I do apologize, by the way. That perception should have been with your alertness, but it's all right.
I have obfuscate, so I'm going to use my 1 on that and go ahead and roll it.
Okay. Now, with your obfuscation, with that ability, does that does that require blood use?
I believe it requires 1 blood. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them do. All right, so you use your thing and you're able to basically kind of hide in shadow in plain sight in a way. How about you? How about your character there, Sienna?
No, she does not have any obfuscate abilities.
All right. Well, you guys work your way up, and you come and you see there's this little park that is sitting next to that damaged building, and in the park. You're across the street from him now. You're kind of poking your heads out of an alleyway looking at it. In the park, you see there's about a dozen people in that park, right? And there's one person who seems to be just holding Roman candles, and they're kind of firing out, but the Roman candles are literally splintering trees, right? You got another person who seems to be has a bubble gun. oddly enough, and is keeps pointing the bubble gun and shooting it. But when the bubble gun hits an object, it seems to melt it like it were acid or something. It's a very bizarre scene. And once again, these things kind of make sense, but then they don't at the same time. There's two of these guys doing weird stuff. The other, 9 or 10 people are moving very fast, and you recognize them very easily as vampires. There seems to be a
Okay.
fight going on here.
Real quick, you do not have to spend blood for the first level of obfuscate, but you
Okay.
can't move.
I see. Okay.
Oh, so I wasn't able to use it anyway. All right, I'll put
Yeah.
that blood point back then. All right, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Just to make sure you understand your disciplines real tight, okay? But yeah, because when you get into especially the higher level of disciplines, you are spending blood on that, which makes sense. I mean, it's a vampire, right? But anyway, so you guys are seeing this scene go on. What would you like to do?
It almost seems as if this is magic.
Well, you've been here
That's why
long enough. You would assume it is, yeah.
I don't think we need to engage these people. I think we should probably stay out. Who are the other vampires? Do we
I-
recognize their kind?
They don't have. They're not Nosferatu, you know that. But they're some of them are moving too quickly. And if any of you have the discipline, either you, Damien, or Sienna, I think Sienna has it. You would recognize they're using celerity.
Yes.
I say we stay out of it. This is between the prince's men and the mages. Let's go back the way we came.
Yes. Report back to the house.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. No problem. As you guys are moving away, though, you do see the guy with the bubble gun. He shoots, and he actually catches two of the vampires in a bubble, and it literally melts off like 2/3 of their body, and they drop. You would assume dead.
Yeah,
I say we move a bit faster out of here.
Yes, I want to use my celerity ability to get out of here quicker.
All right. Now remember, you are across the street. You're not engaged, but you guys retreat as quickly or slowly
I
as you do.
also have celerity. I also
Okay.
have celerity, so I can keep up with her.
Awesome. So you guys are headed back to the city, back to the lair, the haven, actually. Now you guys are sitting in the haven. Of course, Rhaegar is going on, and he's the center of everything right now. Everyone's listening and speculating and having opinions. Toddy has been over in the corner, sitting and talking to Lara, and you notice Denali and Plague. You have, of course, you're scanning the room, and you have better vision going on now than anybody because I'm sure that that drone has various cameras, right?
And I activated my hearing for hide and sense.
I see.
So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
actually, I wanted to. I don't want to come into the room. I come to this because I'm assuming there's a stairwell that like overlooks everything, right?
Yeah, there's actually two stairwells that enter the Benny's place here. Now remember, this is in the basement
Yeah.
of the Haven, right? The lair here.
Right.
It's underground. Now there is one that comes from the ground floor here, and it's simply a basement entrance, and that one is sitting behind that is behind the bar, and you guys are allowed to use that. Use that. The patrons don't.
Right.
In the back of the house
Okay.
here, there is one of those kind of New England style storm doors for the basements. You know, they're kind of like on the ground type of thing, and that's where most people come in. Right. This is not a neon light blinking vampire bar. This is a hidden place,
Okay.
right? But there are two
Okay.
entrances. Yeah.
I'm gonna come out of my room. I'm pretty much like got my hood over top of my head. I'm trying not to engage with anybody. I want to come low enough down the stairs where I can see Tati and the mage talking. If I can get an angle on them without coming off the stairs.
You can actually, as long as you leave the door behind the bar open, you can get an angle of them. This is not an enormously huge place, right? I mean, you can
Okay.
get a good angle here. It's quite packed,
Um,
actually. There's probably nearly 30 people in here, and it's really
Mhm.
it's about the maximum this thing can handle, really. But
okay.
you're looking over, and this is what you notice. And of course, I'm sure that Al is paying attention as well, even though he's over
Right.
at Ragar's table.
Mhm.
You see that, like I said, Lara and Tati have been speaking the whole night over in the corner by themselves, and uh, you notice that Lara uh, touches her temple and closes her eyes. It's almost as if she's communicating with something. She stands up, she bows and apologizes, and heads for the door rapidly.
Damn. All right.
Did
That
I
killed.
catch any? Yeah, did I
Yeah.
catch any of the conversations before that happened?
You did, and they were all in Russian.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, he pretty much that pretty much killed what I wanted to do. But Denali, you get a text message
Yeah.
and it says, "Ask Rhaegar if that Prince asshole's people are showing vamp abilities while they're grabbing these people."
All right. So that's what my character glances off. I smirk a bit and then ask the Nosferatu, is this Prince people showing vamp abilities?
And
Uh,
by the way, Chester, I turn around and I run right back up to my room.
All right, fine. She's not heading your direction, by the way. She's going out of the standard entrance, but
Yeah.
and exit. But you ask Rhaegar, and he says yes, they have openly even. I don't know. It's a very odd thing for the camera to do. I mean, what about the masquerade? Now, keep in mind, he is Nosferatu. He is not a caitiff. He is part of the masquerade, one of the important
Mm-hmm.
clans in the masquerade, actually. So he's shocked. Yes, they are. They're very open about it. Although he does mention the mage have still been doing their best to hide their abilities. Of course, their reasons for doing it are very different than a vampire. Vampire is about being hidden, not having the mass of humanity know they exist. The mages have another problem. If they do magic too overtly and people see it and cannot have, and their brain can't understand it and make sense of it, they can create a paradox, and a paradox can be absolutely devastating as far as how dangerous it could be. So the mage's reason for obfuscating their abilities is very different than a vampire, right?
Right.
So, okay, what are you guys going to do?
I still have obvious my aspects on heightened sense. Do I
Sure,
hear any of the explosion of the fireworks or anything that occurred outside?
you are hearing fireworks at a distance. Yes.
All right. So after the Nosferatu Renar says that, I nod, give him my thanks, and I turn off the aspects, my heightened sense, and I walk outside to see what's going on after I hear
Okay.
all that noise.
All right,
And
Chester, I'm really sorry, man. I'm gonna have to leave. My mother just got taken to the ER.
Oh, okay.
oh boy,
That's Bob, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man. But I gotta go.
All right, no
Okay.
problem, dude.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
All right. And he is playing Plague, right? That's Plague. Okay, okay.
Right.
All right. No problem. We can work around that. Now, as you go outside, Denali, and you're going to check out what's going on, in front of you, you see Laura moving quite quickly. She's not running, but she's moving at a high pace. At the same time, you see coming off the sidewalk and moving up at high speed. You see your two Haven mates in Sienna and Damien, and uh, all of you guys, give me a perception alertness roll, please.
Okay. Perception
Now, keep in
alertness.
mind the way this works is however many dots you have
Mhm.
in perception and however many dots you have in alertness are added together, and they each represent a 10-sided dice. This is a standard roll. Actually, no, this will be a little more difficult. So this will be a 6. So I want you to roll however many dice you have, and every 6
Mhm.
you get, you tell me how many successes you get. That's how this game works. I want to know the number of successes you get. So go ahead and make that roll for me, everybody.
10-sided.
Question. I have the danger set mirror. Does that activate?
No, this is not danger.
Okay.
I had 1 success, 1 failure, so 1 success.
Well, a failure.
shoot.
The only time you use the word failure in this game is if you roll a 1. Did you roll a 1?
No, it was a 3.
Okay, yeah. So the only failure in this game is a 1. Successes are either 0 or some number, right? If you don't
1,
roll a
2,
1, don't do that.
3.
Bad things happen.
I got.
So
Okay, so
I roll my perception and alertness
That's right.
together.
Yep.
Four 10s then.
Yep, 4 10s. Just roll them up and tell me how many of those 10s come up 6.
6 or greater.
Yeah, 6
I
or
had
greater.
1 10,
Yeah.
and the other 2 were 1s and a 3.
Okay, so you have a 10, a 3, and 2 1s. Wow,
Yes.
that's a horrible roll. All right, the 1 takes away the 10, right? And they knock each other out, leaving you with a 1. So it's early in the game. This isn't so important. So as you're coming around, you kind of lose your footing a little bit. You catch your foot on a root or something like that, and you almost stumble, but you catch yourself. But you don't see anything. And Dinale?
I got 3.
You got 3 successes. Okay.
Correct.
So what you, Al, and Damien see is that you see Lara moving, and she's kind of moving. She's not going out on the street. She's actually moving toward the trees on the side here of the layer, and she's moving over toward this building next to you. Is like it's called Safe Haven. It's a veterans house, like a halfway house type of thing. She's moving over toward that, and you notice that her body kind of shifts or blurs a little bit, and then all of a sudden she's a bird flying away.
darn. I was gonna shadow her. That's one of the things I wrote down. I already knew what I had to roll, but I can't shadow a bird flying away.
Well, my point being is that was I mean I just kind of want to get a little bit of dice rolling to get a feel for it and make sure everyone understands how it works. But if you guys were humans and you saw that might have caused a paradox, right? Meaning she did something very overtly. That's normally they would not act so openly like that, especially being as she knows she's not blind. She probably saw you two guys running up particularly, but she did it anyway. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. She's panicked in a way. She's moving at high speed, and she's throwing caution to the wind. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. So I quickly meet up towards them, seeing her transform into a bird.
All right.
That's it.
I'm assuming you.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please.
So I was saying that it looks like you guys saw something from the way you're using your abilities. Because I wouldn't have noticed earlier they were using celerity because they were moving quickly. Right. And based on her reactions, something's connected with all this explosions I've been hearing as well. Let's drive around Boston and away from this location to talk in safer place.
All
Where
right.
do you
we
suggest?
take my car? I have a Nova.
Yeah, let's get into your Nova.
Sweet.
Let's go.
Let's get into the Nova.
Is it a rust
Hey,
bucket?
I like those cars, man. No, it's nice. Got dark tinted windows. He's a drug dealer, so it's a nice looking Nova.
Dude, 1980s New England drug dealer Nova. Those are perfect combination, dude. Perfect
Right?
combination, yeah. For anybody who is of our age and from New England, you know exactly what we're talking about. That is awesome, dude. Anyway, you guys drive around in your Nova, and yeah, have at it.
All right.
So we saw what appears to be magic users and people with extraordinary guns that most people wouldn't have fighting vampires using celerity in the open, and the people with the guns and magic were blasting away at some building.
It looks like the mages are on a war path.
Well, that's not good at all. I know that back in the Benny's Tavern, Nas was telling that justice cars were here and as you mentioned, they were using their vampire ability openly, which is breaking the masquerade. So I don't understand why. I kind of have an idea why he's doing it, but it's also a big risk for our kind as well. Um, and as you saw, Laura, our liaison, our indifferent liaison, that's the most emotion I've seen throughout the night as well. So,
Did something happen inside to chase her out to flee and change shape like that in public?
I guess she got some kind of communication because she was talking in Russian with the Gangrel Anarch representative, Tati, and suddenly she tilts her head and she has to run, and you saw what I saw.
Now, now you
I'm just
guys are.
I'm
Let me just give a little more background scenery. You guys are driving along. You came up Humboldt Avenue. You've jumped over into the main. You're kind of riding up toward Back Bay, and you're up along the Charles River. Of course, is a major part of Boston, and you guys are driving along, and it's just a pretty standard traffic night.
Hmm. What should we do now that we know what we know?
Do you
well,
guys think that could have been the prince's house that they were attacking, or the prince's lair?
that would be around the area. I mean, we can try to go back and look to see if that is indeed the place, but I really don't want to meet the prince at this time. But we got to check it out either way.
I say we do so carefully. One shot from those bubble guns, and eternity is not going to be a place you want to stay.
Hmm.
Right. So let's check it out, see if they're still fighting around. But as you said, Sienna, we'll do it carefully.
All right. As you guys
Um,
are heading circling back down toward that direction, you guys notice that rapidly the weather is changing. Of course, this is May, so the temperatures are warmish. Right, it's not a super killer hot day, but it's a warm coming on summer day in New England. But all of a sudden it gets very brisk, and you guys are hearing rolling thunder up above. If you poke your head out and take a look at the sky, there's literally a giant storm that is building instantly above you, and not in a realistic way at all.
Hmm.
Wow. And that's the direction we're heading right now.
No, it's over the entire city. It's like you have clouds that are just growing quickly from a central point, and they're just these lightning and thunderstorm is blasting out of it. You're starting to hear a lot of rumbles. You're probably, as you drive along, you're starting to see lightning strikes as well. Rain starts pouring down.
Looks like we better look shelter because I think our hosts are throwing their counter punch.
I start to
Or-
head straight for our place.
So you
We're
go.
not that far away, so
No, you're not. So you're not going to the park down in Dorchester. You're heading back to the lair.
yeah.
Okay. So you pull in here up in the lair. Of course, you park. We'll say that this Toyota Corolla that's parked here is actually a Nova. So you park that Nova up in the parking lot because Benny doesn't have a car. Nobody has a car. You're the only one who has a car, by the way. I think. Does any of you guys have a car?
I have an
no.
Escalade because I'm better off than those both of them.
Okay, well, the Escalade's in the garages toward the back. But
Yeah.
anyway, you guys pull in and you go run, and as you're coming down the road to park, actually go into the lair, you notice that lightning is starting to strike a lot. There's torrential rain. I mean, seriously, torrential rain, and the lightning starts striking random buildings around this street. Most of the lightning seems to be concentrated further down the road, Humboldt Avenue here, down toward Dorchester. But this lightning is striking random, houses and stuff, and it's causing damage. Right now, you guys do have a nice little light rod sitting on top of this building, which can be seen in the picture quite well. But as you guys are running back into the house, this is a not unnatural storm, obviously.
Should we head down to the bar in the basement?
I think that would be a good thing.
All right.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, everybody down here, of course, can hear what's going on above. There's a slight bit of panic. Well, as much panic as a vampire can have, right? But they're very worried, and of course, the tension has been building over the past couple of weeks, but particularly the past 5 days. Everyone's worried, right? Because these vampires are, in essence, breaking the masquerade, but yet they seem to be Camarilla. Not only do they seem to be Camarilla, they also seem to have Justicar with them, which seems very odd. There's just a high level of stress amongst the vampires here, and they're all packed in here. Like I said, on an average night, you will have a handful, maybe a dozen, but all the vampires that live in Boston are in this room, right? And the you can cut the tension with a knife. It's that hard down here.
Should we ask the Nosferatu what he knows about the weather, what could have caused it, or
It's our. I would mention is our friends the mages who's doing this.
Oh, well, if you ask Rhaegar, he's actually kind of look over at the main entrance. He's got he's peeking out actually, looking at several of them, looking at the sky above, and of course he says, "Oh, the mages, the mages! I think someone's made them angry."
I asked Radar, hey, where's Benny at? Is he still down in the bar?
Benny's sitting behind the bar, and he's actually opened up he has several refrigerators that are in a room that's right behind where he also has his living space, and he's actually taken out a kind of a vampire keg, if you want to call it that, and he's
Mhm.
handing out free blood to everybody. He's busy filling shot glasses is what he's doing.
I head up to the bar to get a little bit of blood and maybe a second to talk with Benny.
All right. Benny is busily doing what he's doing. So what do you say?
Hey man, any word on what's going on outside?
He says, "It's not good, man. It's not good, man. Just I don't know what they're doing. I've never seen the Camarilla do like this. I'm I'm a Bruja, right? I mean you know that, right? You're right. But even us, we wouldn't do like that. We wouldn't break it. I mean, there's just a car running around out there breaking the masquerade. It doesn't make sense. The vampires are. I don't know what they're doing because the mage. Oh my God! And he just keeps pouring blood.
And I go up there. It's like, could it be they're not Camarilla? They could be Sabat.
Uh,
Yeah.
Benny doesn't have an opinion on the matter.
Mm.
But
I'll
as
walk up to the
yeah, go ahead.
I'll walk up to the bar.
Mhm.
How long do you think this type of attack or weather will last?
Well, Benny doesn't have an answer. I would assume well, I think Al has a very high pip rating in his occult. What is your
Mhm.
dot? What is your rank in occult?
4.
Yeah, okay. So you can give us an intelligence occult roll if you'd like to try to answer that.
Sure. Let's see. Intelligence. Okay. So let's see for my sheet, and then I can put my specialty analytical as well.
Yeah, that's fine. And of course, just keep in mind that it's a standard roll. It's a 5, so no big deal.
Let's see. So that's 5, and that's 9. So 9d10 for this one.
Mhm.
Okay.
And remember, anytime you get a 1, it takes away from a success. If in the end you're left with a 1, then something bad happens to you. That's how the game works.
So I got a 10, 8, 7, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes.
Okay. You know quite well what the spell that is being used. And not only is it extremely high level spell, so it's not an average mage is pulling this off. This is extremely high level magic that's being to be able to adjust to affect the environment at such an extreme level. You know that it could last. I mean, that you have knowledge of things you've read of a similar storm happening over like Sodom and Gomorrah, for instance, is a very famous moment, and
Hmm.
those storms lasted for over a week, right? And so you know they can last a very long time, but you also know there's no way that the way that came off and was pulled off, that the paradox is not happening right now. You can assume there is at least one, if not several, paradox running around the city causing havoc right now.
So I
Is
say on a, I say so basically it would be like about a week that this weather's going to
Up
continue.
to, up to.
Up to a week. So I said almost up to a week, but the mages are risking really hard pulling this off. So they whatever this prince and his cohort did, they really got the mages really buzzing out with this high end spell.
Since above ground isn't safe, is there some way we could do something underground to travel?
There's the
The
underway, but
one,
you've been warned very clearly about it.
and I looked at them. It's like, do do we feel justified into risking our undead life going through the underway?
Well, you're risking your undead life if we do anything topside.
Right. We can wait it out.
We
Um,
could.
Can I give
hmm,
you a piece of information that you guys know but you don't know? Ragar
sure.
is in Nosferatu, and Ragar has special permission from Benny. He actually comes through the underway, through your laboratory, actually, Dinale, every time he comes to
Yeah.
the bar. He never comes through the main entrance. He always comes through the underway. And you
Right.
know that. That's not a secret.
Yep.
okay. Sorry, some company showed up. Sorry about the background noise.
That's all right.
But is the news on? And if it is the harbor having rough weather as well? What's it doing? Like, how's the city holding up?
Well, the news is on, and Benny does have the TV on. This TV is not a big thing for you guys particularly, but there is a small TV off to the side here, and the news is breaking news. Spontaneous storm dropping on Boston. They're all kind of panicked. They're all questioning, where did this come out? They have some video of it actually forming. It's not as quickly as you guys seen it, but it looks unnatural the way that the storm is just coming out of nowhere, and the media people are a bit panicked, and they're talking about this weird thing is going on, and then they start mentioning, yeah, there's been a lot of weird things the past couple of weeks, yeah, and but they're going on like that, and so there is a special report on the TV right now.
Right. So while he's doing that, I'll go to Ragnar and ask him, "Hey, Ragnar, we need to go to Dorshau,
Dorchester.
Dorchester, through the underground. Would you be willing to guide us through there passage because of this unnatural storm? We
Hmm.
can't do it top level."
He seems reluctant. And let me see here. Damien, you were sitting with them, right?
Yeah.
Now, and you hear Al asking this question to Ragar, and Ragar is being a little hesitant. This is your area of expertise, sir.
All right. I don't want to use a power on him, but
You
I
don't
go
have to.
ahead and yeah, I do have not quick talker, but smooth talker. So I walked up and start to engage with him. Pretty much asking the same question, but in a slightly different way.
Okay. Now, as you're speaking to Ragar, of course, you're going to use your. Are you going to use your charisma, or are you going to use your manipulation?
Charisma.
All right. Now, as you're talking with him, do you want to? You said you didn't want to use a power, but do you want to use like your expressiveness, or would you rather use your performer, which I don't know if that's appropriate in this situation, or would you like to use your etiquette? You could even use politics in this situation, kind of. It doesn't really make sense, but
So can I just roll charisma and etiquette? I believe that's 5 die. So
yeah, I think that would be the best actually. Yeah. So you're chatting him up, and you're trying to get his help. So make your roll.
Can I roll for teamwork as well?
You are talking to him, so yeah, go ahead.
So I'll roll my my two
Charisma.
dice and
Mm,
charisma and whatever that he can add to his roll.
that's right.
all
Go on.
right. Good, because this didn't roll out pretty good. I got a 4, a 2, a 6, 2, and a 1.
All right. So
So I
you
have
have
2, 2,
zero
and a 4.
successes. Zero
I got
successes.
Yeah.
I did. I rolled 2 dice and I got 2 successes, 8 and a 9.
All right. So you if you feel that normally he wouldn't do such a thing because you don't know why. But in the circumstance is unique. And he's like, yeah, I'll help you. Where do you need to go?
And I repeat, is Dorchester?
Dorchester, yes.
Yes, that's where we need to go.
All right, so you guys all go down and you follow Ragar, and he goes into the underway, and it's the first time you guys crossing that threshold. Now, as you get down in the underway, you're a little bit surprised. It's actually quite clean. It's not messy at all, and there are the odd thing about it is that there is an electric light down here, but there are lit torches actually, and which is odd. But you guys are walking along. It's there's plenty of light down here. It's pretty clean. It's built in the old colonial way, so it's a brick arch tunnel. If you guys know what I mean. And
Mm-hmm.
it's almost looks like the old colonial aqueduct type of things, but it's not. There's no water running here. The ground is very dry. Actually, it's cool down here, temperature wise, and you're walking along for a good. You figure probably about a block. You've been going 100 meters or two, and he moves to a right turn, and he goes into an area which is less well lit and a little more cobwebby. But you follow him down, and you come into an area where it opens up into a kind of a big chamber, and there are many paths, little tunnels going off in many different directions. As you come in there, you see there's actually a pack of Nosferatu who are sitting at a table, drinking tea and playing cards. And you also see this big hulking thing. You don't know what it is. You've never seen anything like it before, but it kind of looks like a troll, maybe, is what you think. And it's
Um,
chained to a wall, and it seems to be turning some big giant gear. You have no idea where the gears go, but it is just churning away. And there's a every now as you're moving through, one of the Nosferatu yells at it to pick up its pace, and it does improve its speed. The Nosferatu look directly over at you guys, but seeing as Ragar is with you, they just continue on with their game.
can I roll a call to determine what that creature is?
Sure.
Let's see. So I will do clear that. I will do 9. Yes. So 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 ones. So 5.
That is a Fomorian. And you know that it's very odd to see a Fomorian chained because they're usually the big baddies. But that is a chained Fomorian.
my lips go dry. If what's capable to be wet.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'll keep that to myself.
Well, if anything, it's a display of power. But it is
Yeah.
serving some manner of function. You don't know you see the big gears in the wall, but you have no
Hmm.
idea where the gears go. You just see that it is turning something. They're using it as some kind of manual labor. They're using this Fomorian for, but that is a display of power because Fomorian, even a low powered one, is not something to be. You've never seen one before, but you know what they are.
Yeah.
All right. You guys travel along. You go down to one that is kind of a little bit off to the right, but still keeping pretty straight. You head down, and this one's a little bit better cleaned and lit than the one you just came out of. You travel for a little bit, and you pass a couple of intersection type of things. Mainly everything you're seeing down here is not a lot of traffic, but the traffic you do pass are all Nosferatu, all of it, and you have already seen half as many Nosferatu as you thought vampires were in the city. Now, you
Uh,
guys,
I mean, it's an open secret that they're usually obfuscated. So even if there's probably even more that's not showing themselves.
now
Um, can I roll to detect if there's any hidden still with aspects?
I guess you could, but I don't know what the point would be.
Okay,
Yeah, because you're with
paranoia.
Rhaegar, it's obvious they're not interfering or talking to you at all. But
Right.
they all seem to look at you, but then they look at Rhaegar, and then they keep doing what they're doing. Now, you guys kind of veer off to the right, and you come into a very large room. It's a huge room, and it's a very low ceiling though. But there are many columns in this room. This more than you would think it would be necessary, actually, and you go over and there's a spiral staircase sitting right in the middle of this long room, and he's standing right in front of him looking up. He says, "This comes out of the fountain in the park that you guys wanted to go to." He points up.
Okay.
Think,
Um,
I was just
uh,
gonna say I thank him and start to head up it, but
Okay.
if you guys want something else, then
well, we're gonna ask how do we return? I'll ask him. Do we come the same way we came in? Will they allow us to do that, or we got to figure out something else
No, they
to
wouldn't.
Renar?
But I'll wait here for you. He says things are starting to get serious. I might have to introduce you to the elder.
Yes, please, because if things are going to explode, I think we're going to need to move efficiency to keep our all of our skins intact
Mhm. Now,
in this part.
an interesting thing about Rhaegar, he answers any questions you guys might have, and of course, I said even though he's a bit dour right now, he is a friendly guy. But almost all of his interaction, particularly since you guys been in the underway, he is talking directly to Denali Al only. It's noticeably so, right? All right.
Mhm.
So you guys are there's a spiral staircase, very beautiful one by the way, made of mahogany woods and cherry woods mixed together. It's a beautiful staircase, and marble. There's marble steps and everything, and right above is a fountain. He says.
Okay. Well, I'll thank like Damien did as well. Thank him for his help, and we'll try to be back as soon as possible.
He says, "I shall
Not
wait
to keep
here."
him wait. Thank you. So let's go, guys and lady.
I also thank him and head up with the rest of the guys.
All right.
I
You guys.
I stop and move to the side and say, "Ladies first." She is the strongest one, so might want to send her up first.
This is true. She is the combatant. That is true. Anyway, so Mox is or excuse me, Sienna is in the lead. You guys head up the stairwell. At the top, there is a very ornate square stone in the wall that's obviously to be depressed for opening the door. You do so, and a granite door directly above opens, slides to the side, and you immediately start getting hit by rain, so much so that you're wet instantly. That's how heavy the rain is. But you guys come up, and the rain's going on. You hear lightning ripping across this area. The wind is going. This is like a almost hurricane level, at least tropical storm level of storm that's going on up here. And you see in this park that you have a whole, as you look across, there are many, many people standing. In a circle, there might be 30 of them. You don't know if
Oh
they're
crap!
exactly what they are, but they all are showing fangs, so they're at least vampires, right? Standing in the middle are five magi. There are the two that you guys have seen before. You see another guy who seems to be dressed almost in medieval armor. You see Lara standing there, and you also see the mage, the boss. And they're kind of in a circle back to back, and there's nothing going on right now. The mage has his hand in the air, and it seems to be he's controlling this storm, and they're all at the ready, and all the vampire just kind of standing vampire-like, with their arms to their side, their eyes are glowing, and that type of thing. This is the situation you've walked into. Now you're sitting in the fountain. This is a little bit, maybe say 30, 50 yards away from you, where this is taking place. What do you want to do?
Not move 1 inch, not to draw any attention.
Is there any way that we could possibly slip away from this situation to somewhere near a building or something to get away from this, or
This is
should we shot
probably
into
the best place you're standing right now, because you can get underground literally within seconds.
Um,
Is it shadowed around the fountain?
As much as it can be. The whole place is kind of shadowed. There's a ridiculous storm going on. The only light is really coming out of the street lights, which have been dimmed by the storm that's ripping around. And of course, the lightning that is constantly crackling across the sky is lighting it up like bright day.
What would be the consequence if I was to throw my sword into the mage's head from here, and then we
Uh,
slip back down?
you could try. I
I,
you
I,
probably would
Well,
assume it would be bad, but
before she does anything stupid, I use obfuscate and blend into the shadows right there at the fountain, so I can't be seen. I stay
sure,
completely still.
sure. I understand the thing, and your character doesn't really know much about mage. Really, you're new here, so mm, I get your point. And if you asked that question to the group, right?
Yes, I was
Yeah.
asking
Okay.
it to the other two with me.
Well,
yeah,
then Denali would have the answer for you.
I would say, do you want to be killed slowly or quickly?
Hmm.
To be fair,
So
you do have high-end mage. He is the magus of the chantry, and he is not only here, he is engaged and in action, so he's ready, right?
Yeah.
So what do you suggest, Denali?
We don't have any abilities to do anything. Rather, we are kind of like, the small fish, and we just enter into a fight between the two largest predators that we could get in. And if we try to do anything, it will be futile. So I would recommend, and I'm saying this in a very, very low whisper, we go back down where we came from, because we're not going to be able to do anything
As
at
you
this
guys
point.
are chatting, making a
Mhm.
decision what you want to do, walking out from the furthest distance from you, becoming out of the group of vampires, because the vampires are almost have like a half circle surrounding the mage type of thing at the other side away from you. But walking out from the back of where the vampires are, you see a vampire coming forward, and you don't know him, but you do recognize him by the descriptions you've heard. You think it's the prince. He's walking up and he starts to speak, and you notice that his voice is way louder than it should. It's almost like he's booming out from a speaker with his voice, and you can hear very clearly what he's saying. And as he walks up, he says, "This is foolish. You know what you need to do. Why do you stand in the way of this? We cannot be separated. We must be one to face Guyana.
Hmm.
So I I put heightened senses on to hear the response from the other mage.
He says nothing.
Okay.
The vampires, are they protecting this mage or are they preparing to attack him?
They're in a position of intimidation. Yeah. They're not. They're doing nothing. They're just standing with they're just standing with their arms to the side. They're all, they're just ready to go. Everyone's in a situation ready to go. There's no combat going on. The prince continues, or at least what you think the prince is, and he says, "Why are you being so stubborn? Constantinople is already on board. You know how important this is. Why are you being like this? This is a loci. We must control the loci."
And
Does
there's no
Al know what
response.
that means?
Are you guys asking me?
Yeah, I go up my Al and hunker down
Okay.
next to you guys, and I whisper that to you. Do you know what he's talking about? And is he looking right at us? Is he talking
No,
to
dude,
us?
they don't even know
No.
you're there. You are so
Okay.
unimportant. It's not even funny, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just shrimps in the shadows,
Okay.
which we want to keep it like that, where they're not hearing us. But I would whisper back. Um, wait, first, Chester, you want me to roll to know what he's
No,
talking about,
not at
or
all. Those are
okay,
simple things. He's not speaking
okay,
anything complicated. Yeah.
all right. So the first part was Gehenna, which is basically the vampire's end of time prophecy, where our antediluvians would wake up and start eating all the elders and all the children to restart the kindred vampire. One of the signs of Gehenna is a new Cain from the Caitiff wood or Thin Bloods would arise. And I lick my lips as I'm talking about this. What they're talking about is apparently the another mage stronghold, which is Constantinople, are working together with the Camarilla, which is amazing to think about. And they're trying to fight over this loci, which is a center of magic that pulls a thinning in reality, if you want to think about it, where they can draw about magical forces.
Hmm. And this is a
So
major loci.
yeah, and this is a major loci. So this is a very important location where strong magics and supernatural things attracts. I'm trying to keep it simple so they so they
Yeah,
can
yeah, I understand.
follow through. Yeah. But this is crazy if the Camarilla usually denies the existence of a Gehenna, saying that it's just they complete deny the fact that the prince is saying that means that um, they're feeling that Gehenna is on the event, and I wonder if this synthetic drug that we were hearing about has something to do with all this stuff that's going on. I fall silence just as hear to see if there's anything more being said between the prince and the mage.
There is. The mage, Clifford, the magus, he
Hmm.
actually does speak, and he says, "And who are you to ask this of me? I am in charge of this chantry. How dare a vampire come and demand anything of me?" He says. And the prince says, "I am Lucius Quincticus Cincinnatus. I am of the fourth generation, and I demand it. If you do not turn this city over and help us with fight against the antediluvians, I will tear you and every mage here apart. It is your choice. Either join me or die."
Hmm.
So, and I'm like, wow.
All right. So you guys are waiting and listening intently to see what's going on, and the magus is he's not responding, but you look at his you can kind of see his because this is a little bit at an angle. You guys can see this, so you can see
Hmm.
his face. He just seems incredibly defiant, right? He does not. He's not interested in this conversation, although the prince is very serious, and the whole time the prince is actually he's looking for help is what you need to get across from what he's been saying. He needs help. He thinks very seriously Gehenna is coming, and this city seems to be important. Do you guys want to say or do anything, or just continue listening?
I
I
asked
stay
Dinale,
silent.
do you really believe that a fourth generation can beat this mage?
Um, I mean, maybe. I mean, with preparation, I think. When you're talking about that higher power skills, you know, all all bets are off. Um, you know,
Now,
I'm
as you
like,
guys are
yeah,
chatting with each other, I'm going to let you ask your
yeah.
question as well, Dodge. But as you guys are chatting with each other, you notice that four come up and stand in a line behind the prince, and they throw off their cloaks, their jackets. And all of you, even though you're Kadif, these are very common things to know. There are four Justicar, four of the six, by the way, four Justicars standing behind the prince right now.
Oh
Um,
snap!
I'm I look around. Is there any hide behind and move quickly and quietly to maybe get a better view?
You could get closer. You don't know how smart that would be, but your view is not bad from where you are. You could get a little
Right.
closer if you'd like. But it depends on how close you want to get to this. I mean, the obviously there's no lightning striking, although it's ripping through the air every now and then. But the Magus still has his hand in the air, and he's ready to go, right? Um,
If
yeah.
he moves, Al would grab him and just hold him with a
I
shake.
decide not to move anyway after
Yeah,
looking around.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this conversation between the prince and the Magus continues for about a minute or so. The prince reinstates his insistence that the Magus work with him, and then the Magus insists that he has no authority here. And as you guys are watching and stuff, all of a sudden the air around you becomes very warm, and you notice that your clothing and your hair just seems to become very static and almost kind of floating in a way. You feels
Oh
weird.
crap.
You feels
Okay.
weird. And we have Al and Damien. You guys look next to you, and Sienna is starting to float in the air, right?
Oh crap.
And as Sienna
Uh,
floats in the air, she starts screaming and with incredible pain, writhing in the air. And of course, this catches the attention of the entire park, and the Magus and the Prince and everybody looks over. And as she starts screaming and stuff, she starts ripping at her clothing, particularly at her abdomen. She rips off the clothing around her abdomen. You see, there's a glowing rune there. And she's in this incredible pain. And then all of a sudden, her arms and her back and her legs just kind of lurch back, and putting her belly or the rune forward, and the pain and the motion stops. She comes standing straight up. She's hovering about 10 foot in the air, and her eyes are glowing very bright. And she says, "Unto those who are listening upon this loci, I, Baal, am here to announce the beginning of the return of the antediluvian. You are all ready and prepared to feel the wonders of the flesh as we tear it from you and eat you, and you are certainly blessed to be the food of the returning gods. I, Baal, am the leader, and I, Baal, shall make this city mine. Rachandu Shrol Ende Brach Baal. And as he says this, as she says this, a giant blast of wind and energy just goes out in a circle around her, knocking everything in the park down except for the Magus and the Prince, the only ones left standing. Everyone gets knocked to their feet, and then knocked off their feet, and then Sienna falls in a clump onto the fountain, unconscious.
We're on our we're knocked down as well, correct?
Yes, you are. Yes.
I would quickly stand up, and grab. The first thing I would do is grab Sienna and try to hightail it down back into the sewers.
Okay. Then what you need to do is, do you have celerity?
No, I don't have celerity.
All right. And you're trying to grab her. Sienna, I do apologize. Mox, I'm using you as a plot device. So you can't do anything. Damien, do you want to do something?
I have celerity. I go first to go grab her and
Right.
head down the steps.
Okay.
So what do I need to
No, just you say you're doing that. As you're doing that, and Denali, of course,
Okay.
is moving way slower, and you're grabbing hold of her and getting ready to go down the step, the prince is standing next to you, and he's looking at you. He
Which
doesn't say anything at all. He's just looking at you oddly. And boom, that's where we're going to end it for today. We will leave it for next time.
snap.
All right. Well,
Okay.
that is our introduction to the beginning of our story here. Now, do you guys have any kind of questions for me as we're wrapping up the night?
No, sir.
No, we're good.
Did Mox take any damage though in the fall? Because there's an actual damage rating for that, right?
Yeah, but not in this case for vampire. It wasn't that high, and the only thing you see on Mox is the tattered shirt, or excuse me, on Sienna is the torn shirt, and there is now a rune-shaped burn scar on her abdomen.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I have more questions for the next session if we get out of this. But yeah, I mean, that's it for now.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for joining us. I wanted to keep this session as close to 2 hours as I could, and I did. So I'm very happy about that. I can't promise that every session will be 2 hours, though. I have a feeling there will be a couple that will go a little longer. Although I will make sure that I try not to let anything go beyond 4 hours, which is pretty standard gaming session, to be honest with you. But I did want to keep the introduction here to 2 hours. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that. I see we got a fair group that stayed around to listen to the story and see what we're doing. Of course, this first episode is really about laying out what we're doing, right? And then coming up next week, the group's got some decisions to make, for sure. And of course, some of those decisions that might not be an option. Depending on the situation, because as we leave them, they are standing in the middle of. Oh, by the way, the rain has stopped. The storm is gone. So they're all lying sprawled out or just starting to get to their feet on a fountain in the middle of a little park in Boston. One of their members has just had the voice of some antediluvian coming through them called Baal, and there is a mighty fourth generation prince standing over them. Yeah, that's the beginning of a campaign right there, I'd say. All right, guys. Will anybody have anything to add or say before we get out of here?
Great game. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's just a standard disclaimer that we should have done in the beginning that we're going to do evil things. Our characters, it's not us. We're just role playing. We're just having fun. If it, for whatever reason, it happens to trigger you or upset you, please walk away, do whatever you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
This is just pure fun, throwing things around.
Yeah, sure. I think everybody understands that, and I do warm wishes and hopeful positive thinking toward Bob and his mom.
Yeah.
Hope she's doing fine, and of course we'll we'll find out what's going on with that as soon as possible. But certainly hope everything's fine there. Nevertheless, guys, thank you very much. Do keep in mind that, of course, this week we have a standard week coming up. We got some guests, we got some things that are going to go on, but you'll see as those things come along. But other than that, Dinale, take us out of here, man.
Well, join us tomorrow for Bunny Vision Movie Night, where we're going to be watching Attack All Monster Godzilla in preparation for the new Godzilla movie that's coming out this week. Also, this Saturday, we're going to be talking with the creator of White Lily, who was on the show, Preston Polder.
Mhm.
So that's going to be fun. We had the last time he came on board, it was a whole lot of fun. So we're looking forward to that interview again and seeing what he's been up to since our last interview.
Is that White Lily or White Widow?
White Lily.
White Lily, okay.
You're thinking of Benny with.
I am thinking of Benny. You're right.
Yeah. So a lot of white around here, but as always, your perception shapes your reality. So always make it a good one.
Namaste.
Day.
Later, guys.
Aloha.